Welcome back to Azure Services Deep Dive from Data Analytics Actuary. We've covered VMs and VM scale sets, the world of infrastructure as a service where you own and manage the operating system. Today, we move up the stack to platform as a service, Azure App Service, where you deploy your code and Azure manages everything underneath. Let's keep our Azure context in view. Microsoft Azure's 200-plus services fall into a layered model. Infrastructure at the bottom, platforms in the middle, and managed services at the top. The higher you go up the stack, the less infrastructure you manage, and the faster you ship. App Service sits firmly in the platform layer. It's used across every industry, insurance portals, banking dashboards, actuarial reporting APIs, anywhere a team wants to focus on application code instead of server management. App Service is part of Azure's compute category, specifically the Platform as a Service or PaaS tier. The distinction matters. With ISVMs, you manage everything from the OS up. With PaaS, Azure manages the OS, runtime, middleware, and scaling. You manage only your application code and its configuration. This shift eliminates an enormous category of operational work. No OS patching, no runtime upgrades, no web server configuration. Just code, deploy, and run. Azure App Service, a fully managed platform for hosting web applications, REST APIs, and mobile backends. It supports .NET, Java, Node.js, Python, PHP, and Ruby out of the box, all on a platform that handles auto-scaling, custom domains, SSL certificates, and CI/CD integration without any infrastructure configuration. You bring the code. App Service brings everything else. Here's what App Service actually provides. At the core is the App Service Plan, the compute resource your apps run on. Plans range from free tier for experimentation to premium V3 for production workloads requiring high memory, VNet integration, and zone redundancy. On top of the plan, you deploy one or more apps. Each app gets its own subdomain, SSL, and independent deployment pipeline. Deployment slots let you run a staging version alongside production, then swap them with zero downtime, a critical feature for regulated environments where deployment failures have real consequences. Auto-scaling rules add and remove instances based on CPU or HTTP queue depth. Web jobs run background tasks, think scheduled report generation or data pipeline triggers, on the same compute as your main app. And built-in authentication integrates with Microsoft Entra ID, so you get enterprise SSO in minutes. Let me walk through where App Service genuinely shines. First, web applications and portals. Customer-facing insurance portals, agent dashboards, claim submission forms. App Service hosts them all with built-in SSL, custom domains, and global CDN via Azure Front Door. Second, REST API backends. Your actuarial models and data pipelines often need to expose results via APIs for downstream BI tools, mobile apps, or partner integrations. App Service hosts these APIs with automatic HTTPS, authentication, and rate limiting via API management. Third, zero downtime deployments with staging slots. In a regulated environment, you cannot afford deployment failures. App Service's slot swap pattern lets you deploy, warm up, validate, and promote to production with an instant rollback if anything goes wrong. Fourth, background processing with web jobs. Scheduled tasks, nightly data loads, report generation, email dispatch, run as web jobs on the same infrastructure as your main application, with no additional services to manage. App Service becomes far more powerful through its integrations. Azure SQL Database is the natural companion for web apps. App Service provides built-in connection string management and managed identity authentication, so credentials never appear in code. Application Insights gives you real-time performance monitoring, error tracking, and request tracing with near-zero configuration. GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps plug directly into App Service, enabling continuous deployment on every Git push. Azure Front Door sits in front of multi-region app service deployments, providing global load balancing, a web application firewall, and CDN. And virtual network integration lets your app service reach private backends, databases, APIs, storage, without exposing them to the public internet. App Service is excellent, but it has real boundaries. You have limited OS-level access. You cannot install arbitrary system software or kernel modules. If your application has unusual system dependencies, a container or VM is the better choice. The standard plan supports up to 30 instances. Premium v3 is required for larger scale or zone redundancy. Some language runtime versions have limited support windows. You need to track and migrate when Microsoft EOLs a runtime. Web jobs on consumption-style plans have execution timeout limits. And on shared tier plans, resources are co-hosted across customers, introducing noisy neighbor risk for latency-sensitive applications. To summarize, Azure App Service is the fastest way to deploy production web applications and APIs on Azure. You get automatic scaling, CI/CD integration, deployment slots, and enterprise authentication without managing a single server. For data and actuarial teams, it's the right platform for customer portals, reporting APIs, and scheduled background jobs where the goal is shipping features, not maintaining infrastructure. The constraint is that it's a managed platform. You trade OS-level control for operational simplicity. That was Azure App Service. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Next up is Azure Functions, which takes the PaaS model even further. Instead of hosting an application, you run individual functions in response to events, paying only for the milliseconds of execution time you use. I'll see you in the next one.